So I think something that's a both a threat and opportunity, probably more of an opportunity than threat, but viewed as a threat externally, is AI. And so
Mm-hmm.
this is a conversation I was having with the optometry student and his parents yesterday when they came. That they're asking, is AI going to take over, and is there going to be no need for optometrists? I said, well, AI and technology can currently do almost everything within an eye exam. But then you need someone to put it all together and be the person that explains it and actually takes the actions. And so I think that some people will say AI as a threat, but you could just as easily, and I think more appropriately, see it as opportunity. Because I think it'll change the way we do things. It won't change a need for someone that, today we call optometrist, and whether that's what we call this position in 20 years or not, I don't know. So I think AI is both. I think it's opportunity and threat.
Hello and welcome to the Chris Wolfe Podcast on iCode Media. Today I had a great conversation with Dr. Jeffrey Gerson. Jeff and I have known each other for a long time. Started out peripherally, and then we actually got to spend some time together at a dinner. And I've been meaning to have him on the podcast for a long time, and there were some things that I finally was able to put in connection with him. But we talked about kind of our vision for the future, what excites us about the profession, kind of opportunities as well as threats to the profession. As always, enjoy the conversation. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast, write a review, share it with your friends, and support those who support us. And we're out. The most common questions I get include, what ophthalmological codes or evaluation and management codes should I use? What ICD-10 codes do I need to bill with this CPT code? What CPT codes can be billed together and what can't? And my favorite, how do I manage a patient who has diabetes who comes in for a quote-unquote routine eye exam? These questions really highlight the confusion and uncertainty that serves as a daunting hurdle for providers, makes it more challenging for them to care for their patients and provide those patients with the best opportunity for a lifetime of ocular health and clear vision. That's why we built iCode Education for this specific purpose. Our mission is to provide optometrists with resources to help you understand disease states, revenue cycles, and billing and coding so that you can put that on autopilot and truly care for your patients. Check out iCodeEducation.com. That's EYECODE education.com. We've developed a premier billing and coding bundle that includes all of our billing and coding resources in one place. We also have a 10% discount code just for listeners of this podcast. Enter the coupon code EYECODEMEDIA22 at checkout. We'd love to work with you. Check out iCodeEducation.com. Not all omega-3s are created equal, and we switched to TG Omegas because the triglyceride form offers superior bioavailability, and patients actually stay on it. For dry eye management, it's one of the few supplements we feel there's a clinically improved benefit for those patients. Smoother tear film with fewer symptoms. It's an easy upgrade to the standard omega-3 conversation, so check out TG3 for your patients and your practice. I will be respectful of your time. We've met, you may not remember it, but we've met a number of times, and I've always been impressed with you, and I have never actually had a chance to sit down and just pick your brain about your view of the profession and what kind of keeps you driving. So I don't really have an agenda for what we'll talk about today.
Okay.
So I'll probably do an introduction after our conversation. That's why I just start recording, because generally what will happen is we have a good conversation and then I'm like, oh, I should have started,
Okay. Yeah,
So,
we had dinner at Vision Expo in New York City, and you were wearing the jacket. I commented on the jacket. I remember it was like I forget what brand it was, but it was a more casual sport coat.
Oh, it was Faraday.
Yes.
Was it Faraday? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And so I remember.
I think that's how you say it.
I don't know how you say it, but I just remember that you were wearing. I was like, oh, that's really nice. I never actually got one. Maybe now that you're reminding me of the name, I should get one. I'm writing that down.
You need to.
But yeah,
you need to.
I remember that dinner or meeting for sure.
That was fun, man. That was fun.
Yeah.
They're not going back to New York, are they?
I think next year.
Oh, okay.
Or not next year. 2028.
Because they're going to Vegas.
Yeah, Vegas is 27. And I think New York is 28.
You're not involved in the hierarchy of Expo, are you?
No, no, not at all.
I I think they really. I mean, I don't know. I think they. I mean, Expo. I don't know why you would have given up on Las Vegas. I mean, I know that New York had been kind of spotty in the last few years, but man, every time I was in Vegas, it was always hopping.
Yeah, yeah, it was, and yeah. I mean, Orlando. Did you go to
I did. I
yeah.
did.
I mean, that was different. Uh,
Yeah.
so I'm glad they're going back to Vegas. And like I said, I think it's New York after that. So hopefully those do well. Um, and that hopefully they don't go back anytime soon to Orlando.
So, well, all right. So you've got, I want to start up, like, I'm looking at your room and, when we all do our podcast studios, the places that we do podcasts, I think I see a record player. I definitely see guitars. And is that a wakeboard
It's a
or like a boogie board? It's a surfboard,
it's a regular
but you're in
surfboard. Yeah.
Kansas.
Yeah. So there's a lot of surfing in Kansas. No.
Yeah.
So our kind of happy place is Costa Rica. And so
Mm.
there's this artist that we really like where we go in Costa Rica and they paint surfboards. So whenever I'm on something like this and I'm look at the screen, I can see that in the background. So Costa Rica is always, it's never too far away.
Yeah. What kind of music do you like to play?
I don't. So it's interesting. So no one in my family does. So those two guitars are basically just conversation pieces. So they were our kids played with them when they were kids. And I don't know where we got them. And now our kids are older and no one's touched a guitar in more than a decade, but we couldn't just, I don't know, we couldn't throw them away or so we thought, well, let's hang it up. And it's turned into the biggest conversation piece because everyone always
Yeah.
asks, oh, what kind of music do you play? And the answer is none of us in our family do.
So I want to ask about how old your kids. My oldest daughter is 20. My next oldest, my son is 18, and he's basically self-taught guitar. He'll sit and play. I don't love John Mayer's music, but Lincoln is enamored by it, and he'll play some of these songs like he's taught himself, and it's phenomenal. I wish he played some, like I like funk and blues and hip hop and drum and bass, and I like most music, but I'd like it to have a beat. And there's a lot of the stuff that John Mayer plays that's very meandering,
Yeah,
and Lincoln loves it. But I mean, it's crazy. He's just taught himself. He's taught himself.
that's pretty cool. That's cool.
So yeah. So then, how old's your oldest? How your kids now? You said they're grown. How old are they?
Yeah, so I've got two. One's 22 and one is 16. So
Okay.
16-year-old so obviously he's here, just started junior year of high school. He
Yeah.
used to play
And
piano, doesn't anymore, but there's no piano in here. But
not yet. When that's going to move in there when he moves out.
it could. It could actually. There actually used to be like a keyboard in here. But then since it was never getting played, I think we gave that to someone else. So
Yeah. Well, so why Costa Rica? I've been there one time. I went to San Juan. What do
uh-huh.
you like about Costa Rica?
Yeah. So my wife and I went there for our honeymoon. And the reason we went there for our honeymoon was we wanted to go on an Alaskan cruise, but couldn't afford it. And so we could afford a trip to Costa Rica. So we went there and just loved it. And so fast forward 20 years later, we actually bought a condo and we go once or twice a year. And it's just what we like about it is that people are really nice. It's very laid back and you can do as much adventure as you want, or you can choose to just kind of sit by the beach if you want. And so it's a good mix. And so for us, it just makes a great place to get away to.
Yeah. So then do you have a plan then? Like, let's say your son gets done with high school, moves on to college or whatever he does for work. You going to spend more time down there?
I think we eventually will. I don't know when. Like you, I can't seem to focus on any one thing. So we both have our fingers in so many different pots that it's going to be hard to extract enough to be able to then go do something like that part-time.
Do you
Um,
think, yeah, well, what do you think about that? Why? Because I think for me, I could probably unpack why I'm like that, but what I really think of it is it's almost a protection mechanism that because so I don't get burnt out in any one thing. I that's not why I do it, but it's certainly like when I hear about physician burnout and I'm like, man, I would never get burned out. And if you ask me how long I want to do this, like I want to do this for actually we're coming to Sioux Falls. I got a meeting tonight in Sioux Falls. And I was talking to my buddy who like sometimes I just ask like my dad came along. I'll just ask people if they want to come along because I'm coming along, it's no big deal. And so we were talking and I said, we're kind of having some like I'm 45 and I gotta schedule a colonoscopy. I'm like, oh man, you're stressing me out. Like I have to, you're making me worried. And so Jeff was talking about that. And I was but my point is like I could practice till I was 70. I could do the stuff
yeah.
that I'm doing till I'm 70. I don't, I would like to be able to retire if I wanted to, but I don't know what I do with my time. So I
Yeah.
guess why did you start doing that? What drives you to do the next thing? And have you thought deeply about why? Because I haven't thought very deeply about my stuff.
Yeah, I don't know that I've thought that deeply about it. I think what I would say is when I find something I like, I pursue it. And so for better or for worse, been lucky enough to find more than just a couple of things within our profession that I really enjoy.
Hmm.
And I think what helps or allows me to continue to enjoy all the things that I do is that I don't spend 40 hours a week doing any one thing. And so, you mentioned burnout. I was talking with an optometry student yesterday and talking about physician burnout. And they had this look on their face like, what do you mean? There's like there is such a thing. And yeah, there is. And studies show it. But I think like you, like when people say, when are you going to retire? I don't know. I'll never really retire because I enjoy all the things I do. And so I think I was lucky enough to figure that out by accident. And so I would say it
What was that
started,
accident? What was that
yes.
accident?
So the
Because
by
I would
accident,
tell you the same thing. Mine was an accident too.
yeah. So it was probably 20, it might have been almost 25 years ago where I was in a practice, not where I am now. I was in a practice that was pretty big and was a very early adopter of a technology and a very early adopter of a new modality of contact lenses. And so I happened to go to people within each of those two companies and said, hey, you know what? I'm part of this practice. You probably should want me to do a little bit of talking on your behalf. And I'm not sure exactly how or why I had the nerve to do that, but I did, and it worked out. And so then I got lucky enough that I had two companies say, hey, we'd like you to do some talks for us. And once I started doing it, I really enjoyed it. And so then it became something where it was, wow, I enjoy this. And I think one of the things that I say a lot is you're good at what you enjoy and you enjoy what you're good at. And so when you kind of put those things together, you end up finding things that you enjoy and are good at. And so then that allows you to do more and more. And so it kind of snowballed. So that started, like I said, maybe 25-ish years ago, and it just kept snowballing. And, as you know, once you kind of put your foot in a new arena, then new people see you. And then you get your foot into another arena. And then new people see you, then another arena. And so it just, for me, it's kind of fun. My guess is your calendar like mine is a little bit hectic. And if the average person looks at it, they'd say, how do you manage that? And you and I look at it and just say, it's just what I do.
Yeah.
So what was your
Yeah.
moment? What was it for you?
Yeah. Well, so I was, so my dad, probably if I were going to make this as concise as possible, my dad is one of the best human beings you'll ever meet. And he's also an optometrist. And he also has this really deep passion for the profession. And he didn't ever want to be stepped on, right? He didn't abdicate his authority or responsibility to an ophthalmologist. I'm not saying that that's right or wrong. I'm just saying that like he didn't just say like, well, whatever the ophthalmologist wants to do. He really had this responsibility, and he took that into like our profession deserves to practice to the fullest level of our scope. And we're going to fight for that scope, meaning the fullest level of our training, and we're going to
Yeah.
fight for that. And so I got to see that when I was in college, in undergrad. I worked at the office, and I just got to see, and he would talk to me about this stuff. And I wish I was better at talking to like potential new optometry students about it, because it made me scrappy. It made me really appreciate what all the people that have done before us did so that we can practice the way we practice. And then, so that actually, like when I went into school, I was like, well, of course I'm going to be involved in the political aspects of school. And so then like George Foster at NSU is like, he was just a political wonk. And I remember, so I just started first year becoming involved. So if they needed somebody to go to the Capitol or they needed somebody to go to knock on doors, I started doing it. And then that really, I remember, anyway, I won't bore you with all the details, but that sort of transitioned me into the AOSA. And I think it was just this foundational belief is like, it's unjust that optometry can't practice to the fullest extent of our training. And because of that injustice, I would just never back down. And so that kind of led me to AOSA Board of Trustees, which sort of I didn't have this, like, I didn't really think, oh, I'm going to be president of the AOSA someday, but then I was. And then I didn't think, okay, well, I'm going to, Kyle Cheatham needed somebody to help make, contact lenses and neuro and optics jump off the page for board review. So he asked, I had a knack for talking in front of people. And so he asked me to help with that. And so, that's product, and it's just every one of those things was interesting to me. You know what I mean? And what I'm doing now, interesting to me. So I think to the same point, it's like, I can just start to say, okay, well, that led to this and this led to that. And, so I don't know. I just enjoy doing different stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard to get burnt out when you do a bunch of different things.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's also hard to focus. That's kind of where I feel like I have, over the last couple of years, I've been really on this mission to say, like, what is my value? Like, if I have I'm 45, so I can't, maybe I can, I probably will get interested in other things, but like, what is the thing? Like, what's the drive? So I've been really kind of working on like clarifying that in my own mind, where I can say, and this is why, because I do have 9 kids and there are things I like to do and I have to say no. So I'm trying to say, like, does this thing that somebody's asking me to do, does it actually get me closer to that vision of myself or the identity I've embraced, or does it detract me from that? And I'm not perfect at it, but that's what I'm working on. Have you done any of that kind of soul searching?
A little bit, but it's really hard because I think once you start,
it's hard.
You keep doing things because you like it, and then it's hard to then back off of it. But I like what you said about finding where you bring value. But I think when you say that, like, where you bring value, it's a different question on where do you bring value to yourself or your family versus where do you bring value to your profession or your practice, or there's different buckets of value. And so it's figuring out, which of those buckets is a priority. And then how do you make sure that you're doing it there? And then, okay, now we can look elsewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, tell me then, what are you really excited about now? Like, if I were going to say, well, what's filling Jeff's bucket? So obviously practice. And I always think of you as a retina guy. So maybe we can unpack the transition from a contact lens guy to a retina guy, which again, is what's so cool about our profession. One of the things is, like, you can be excellent at all these different areas. It is knowable. Retina is knowable by optometry. Cornea contact lens is knowable by optometry. You just have to study. You have to practice.
Yeah.
So I guess what's filling your bucket now? Like, what's the new thing or the thing that you're like, man, this is really great?
Yeah, I think, from a practice, specifically from a practice perspective. So I guess I should first clarify, I was never a contact lens expert or guy. I just happened to be in the right place at the right time. But the practice I'm in now, it's a MD-OD practice. There's 3 MDs and 7 ODs. And what's really nice, it gives us each the liberty to do what we want, because there'll be someone else that'll do the things that we don't want or don't like. And so I'm lucky, just even in my practice life, that I don't have to do things that I don't really want to do, because I know there's someone else that probably enjoys that. So it's fantastic. And so, yeah, in practice, I probably do gravitate a little bit more towards the retina side of things. And, my patient base compared to some of the other ODs in our practice is probably a little bit older, because I enjoy the AMD patients or the people with diabetes that need more chronic care and chronic follow-up. So, what's exciting to me is, you mentioned with what your dad kind of instilled in you, practicing to the fullest of your education, of your abilities. And I think that technology and pharmaceuticals are catching up to our abilities, and that because of technologies and advances in pharmaceuticals, that is going to allow us to do more, as optometrists, potentially without scope expansion,
Hmm.
as far as taking care of people with more chronic issues. I mean, there really aren't too many chronic issues that we can't have a hand in the care of. And I think that's exciting. And, you know, there's some optometrists that say, I want nothing of that. I want routine. And there's those that would say, I want nothing of routine. I want all the more complex. I'm lucky that I get to do a little bit of both, but I think it's the stuff that I see 5 years from now that's really exciting. I was on a call yesterday with someone from a company that's developing a topical therapy for Stargardt's, and that they'll also be testing in geographic atrophy. And so how cool is that? That something that's a chronic condition that historically has nothing you can do about it, that the
Mm,
treatment may be an eye drop.
yeah.
And so that's kind of stuff that to me is really exciting. That the advances in what we're able to do without the fighting that your dad had to do for scope, because it's stuff that's already within.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we're seeing more and more of that. I think, I always say, like, even from an SLT standpoint, I think there's a real, it's really unfortunate. I graduated 18 years ago and I was trained to do SLTs. In fact, I think in my clinic logbooks, I had done like 38 SLTs or something
Oh,
like
wow.
that during my training. And like in Nebraska, I still can't offer that service to my patients. And it's still like now it's like at that time, it was kind of a second line, a very close second line, non-adherence to medications, but it was known that time it was like still a really effective therapy. Now you've got the light study, you got 6-year light study data. I
Yeah.
mean, it's like first line therapy. And how many of my patients would benefit? And I talked to them all about it, but most of them don't want to go see somebody else for
Yeah.
that treatment. And so anyway, that's just an aside, but like now, think about like IPL and low level light therapy and photobiomodulation, like almost every, if you read, so I bring up SLT because Head Luminous just started talking about it as intense pulse light,
Oh,
instead of a laser. Literally, if they would have defined
yeah.
it as a pulse of light or a light-based therapy, it would not be prohibited by most of our scope of practices,
Yeah. That's
in my
true.
opinion. So anyway, but like, so that now there's kind of this pipeline where I think people have gotten smart enough to know that they don't, if they treat it one way, it's automatically inside. And to your point about, most of our scope of practices now across the country, um, even if it's not if there's surgical limitation, most of us have broad authority for topical medications. And,
Yeah.
and then it comes down to the desire to actually manage that patient chronically and long term. And that's where, like, I really want to know you say some people want to manage just routine and some people want to manage, more chronic diseases, but you get to do both. Um, I think there's this, I'm kind of circling in my mind of, if you're a chronic disease manager, it's really, in most cases, it's not like, oh, let me take a step back. I don't think I've talked about this on the podcast, but in school, what are the cases that you talk about? Like, if you're like, hey, Jeff, I saw this amazing case in clinic. It was a fourth nerve palsy, or it was this, or I saw a retinal detachment. Or I saw, just pick some, obscure thing. That's what we write about in our journals. And we feel like heroes, even though sometimes we can't even be the one to fix them, right? We got to send them to somebody else to fix them. And then there's this like thankless job and the stuff that, it's not, I know you're not thankless, but like in terms of like the stuff that's like sexy, I'm not like, well, I saw a glaucoma patient today and their pressures were stable and I continued their latanoprost and I'm going to see them back in 4 months and check their pressures and, look for their ocular surface disease, and I'm going to check their their visual field, and they're probably going to be fine. And then I'm going to do that again in 6 months, and I'm going to do it in 6 months, and I'm going to do it in six. And like, that's just thankless. It's not something that we champion as a profession, but like, that's the grind. And that can be what burn people out, because there's nothing that's like, I saved the day.
Presbyopic patients looking for a simple, comfortable daily option often do really well with Clarity One Day multifocals. We've had great success with it because the lens delivers stable vision at all distances and doesn't require complicated fitting strategies. In my practice, it's a reliable choice when we want something straightforward that still provides very good visual quality.
If you're ready to stop feeling overwhelmed and start running a safer, more profitable practice, here's the next step. First, book a strategy call with us, Practice Performance Partners. We'll uncover the biggest risks and opportunities in your practice. Then, choose the package that fits your goals. From there, we'll get you launched with confidence, with clear systems, with expert support, and with peace of mind, knowing your practice is protected and set up to grow. Don't wait until something goes wrong. Book your strategy call with us, Practice Performance Partners, today. What do you think about that?
I think there's two ways to see that. One could be it's thankless because you keep doing the same thing with no real change, or it could be really rewarding because you're doing the same thing and you're seeing no negative change. And so I think I just more think of it the second way, that it's, because we're doing this person doesn't require surgery, or because we're doing this person is still seeing great and their issue is not affecting their quality of life. And so I think my guess is a lot of burnout has to do with mindset, and that, just the way you see and think of things is going to influence how they affect you. And so, maybe I'm able to see things more half glass full than half empty, at least from a professional standpoint. Because I can see what you're saying 100%, right? Like, they keep coming back. If it's a glaucoma person, they keep coming back and they're never going to get better. If we're lucky, they stay the same or don't get much worse, which is the same like with a geographic atrophy patient, or
Yeah.
until recently, we would have said the same thing with any AMD patient. You mentioned photobiomodulation. With that, at least there's the hope of some people actually improving some visual acuity. So I think a lot of it's just how you look at it, and if you can see
Yeah.
the positive side of it.
What I'm trying to get from you is, why do you see it that way? Because that's how I see it. But it's like, but I think that I guess what I'm saying is, like, there's such value in just chronic care for
Mhm.
patients, and being the person that's going to be responsible for the totality of that patient's visual system and ocular health and how they see. But that seems to get buried underneath, like, when you look at, again, like, I look at journal articles and they're good. I mean, I read them and I'm like, wow, it's a really interesting case. But they don't celebrate there's no celebration of it.
Uh,
But that's the work that, like, optometry does. That nobody does that better than we do.
yeah.
Nobody does
Yeah.
it.
I think part of the reason why we do it well is because we develop relationships with people long term. And, one of the things that I say to patients pretty frequently is I take what I do very seriously, but I don't take myself very seriously.
Mm.
And so it's
Hmm.
pretty common that in an exam room that either it'll be a patient or I will not telling jokes, but says something funny and everyone laughs. And, I had a patient this week that said something that was so completely inappropriate, but she knew that it was okay to say it to me, and we both laughed afterwards. I mean, it was something that was shocking, but she knew that she could do that. And so I think that for me, that's part of it, is knowing that, if you see someone a couple times a year and you see them for 10 years, if you go on 20 dates with people, you start to know a little bit about them. And so I think that also adds to the enjoyment or joy of it, is that, I guess part of it, and this isn't directly answering the question, but I think it sheds some light into the mindset. So I've never worn a white coat. Like, that's never been my thing. Even when in the practice I'm in before COVID, everyone wore a white coat except for me. Like, I just wouldn't.
Mm.
And it's because to
Mm.
me it was a barrier. It was trying to project some status. And which, if you want to wear one, that's great. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying it's not my thing. And so I think that kind of mindset, that I'm not wearing a white coat because I'm just Jeff sitting here across from you that happens to know more about your eyes than you do. That's the only thing that's any different about me. I think that changes the interaction. And then so it kind of everyone's guard goes down. It makes it a lot easier. And so I think, so for me, it started with something that simple, and that just then kind of carries on. And it's just how I conduct myself when I'm in the office.
Yeah, I think, well, I don't wear white coat either. And, I one of my mentors, Bob Vandervoort, big white coat guy. Uh, Actually, David Cockrell was one of my mentors, and his brother Gillen, big
Yeah.
white coat guy. Actually, he was like a suit coat guy, but like they would point to all this evidence, and there's lots of studies that show, in total, on average, if you wear a white coat, patients will adhere to your treatment recommendations better, et cetera. But that's on average. And
Yeah.
I'm fully convinced that the relationship, it trumps the white coat. Now, if I can't build a great relationship, the white coat may help,
Right.
but like if it's marginal, right? So like I can build a relationship. But again, to your point, like I'm not saying people wear a white coat because they're compensating for something. I'm saying it's just not my style.
Right.
And I think it's more uh about what can I do to build trust. Part of that building trust is communication. When I enter the room, I never introduce myself as Dr. Wolfe. It's
Same.
always Chris. Hey, I'm
Yep.
Chris. How's everything going? They know who I am. They know, they've made the appointments. They know, and it's not like I don't need to do that anymore. I used to when I was younger. I used to, um, right or wrong. I mean, but it's more about how do I build that relationship so that I'm not just doing something today. I want to see how you're doing in 5 years and in 10
Yeah.
years and in 20 years. That's what I'm after.
Yeah.
And yeah. So yeah, I think
Interesting.
that's what
Like
a lot
you.
of people are after.
Yeah. So interesting. Like you, I'm the same as far as how I introduce myself. And, a
Hmm.
lot of it started. So
Did
when
you
I
always do
got,
that?
yeah, it's never been Dr. Gerson. Occasionally, like with kids,
Yeah.
I'll do that. Just 'cause I think for kids,
Oh yeah. I
to
do
me,
the
it's
same. I do the same actually.
a
That's
little
interesting.
different. But like anyone that's like, I don't know, teenager and above, I'm just hi, my name is Jeff or Jeff Gerson, and that's it. And where I first got that was when I did a residency out of school, and the residency director, the mentor that I had, that's just how he did things, and he was very casual about it and had great relationships with people. And so it's kind of an eye-opening thing that you don't have to have a white coat. You don't have to be, there doesn't have to be this wall. You don't have to always be formal to have relationships and provide great care. And so I was lucky that I had him as a mentor, and it's just stuck. And I think it's worked. I don't know. I mean, still seeing patients, so it must have worked well enough.
Yeah. Because okay. I've mentioned my age a couple times. When did you
Yeah.
graduate?
97. So I'm
Okay.
54. So a little bit
Yeah.
older.
Yeah. Sure. Almost. Yeah. So I'm 2008. So
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Uh, the well. Okay. There's all these. You always have a smile on your face every time I see you. You got a smile on your face. You're really excited about the profession. What concerns you? Like if you, I try to stay off of most social media. Um, but sometimes I'll get sucked in because somebody say, "Hey, Chris, you need to check this out," or "What do you think about this?" But so you go there and you're like, "Wow, we got a lot of problems." But like in your view, like what is a threat? If you're going to say like, what's a threat to the profession, maybe internally or externally, that you say we got to get a handle on this?
Yeah. So I think something that's both a threat and opportunity, probably more of an opportunity than threat, but viewed as a threat externally, is AI. And so
Hmm.
this is a conversation I was having with the optometry student and his parents yesterday when they came. That they're asking, is AI going to take over, and is there going to be no need for optometrists? I said, well, you know, AI and technology can currently do almost everything within an eye exam. But then you need someone to put it all together and be the person that explains it and actually takes the actions. And so I think that some people will say AI as a threat, but you could just as easily, and I think more appropriately, see it as opportunity. Because I think it'll change the way we do things. It won't change a need for someone that, today we call optometrist, and whether that's what we call this position in 20 years or not, I don't know. So I think AI is both. I think it's opportunity and threat. I think it's interesting, just generational differences in what people want and how they pursue things. And, you and I were lucky enough that we didn't have to pursue the right or privilege to be able to prescribe medications. Whereas your dad, for example, someone had to pursue the ability to be able to prescribe something as simple as an antibiotic. And so I think when you say, what's a threat from within, I would say there's probably some complacency that, that we can do most of what we want or need to be able to do, especially if you're in a state with laser and injectables. Um, and so I think that, that's just something that we need to be careful of is complacency. And I think there's some generational differences in what people want and how they pursue things. And I think that's another potential threat that you and I may see as a threat, but someone that finishes school today, they don't see that as a threat. They see that as that's um, their perception, their lifestyle, and how they want things. So I think I think there's that kind of that split in what different generations, a 2020 grad versus a 2010 grad versus a 2000 grad have different ideas of what the profession is, different ideas of what's a threat or what's bright. And so I think the challenge for all of us is figuring out, okay, what, where in between is the reality and what's ultimately best for the profession and then the people that we serve. Because it's not what any one of those three says. It's something that's a combination of all of them. At least that's what I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's pretty interesting. AI is interesting because right now, like I make this point a lot to audiences is I think we've sort of been historically we've found like a lot of people find their value in diabetic eye exams, right? In patients who have diabetes, in identifying retinopathy. But AI can do a better job than we can do right now. So
Yeah.
but it can only look at retinas. It can't look at irises, can't look at corneas, can't look at MGD, can't look at glaucoma risk. It can't look at, discussing with the patient, like really kind of diving deep and sitting with the patient who's already on a GLP-1 is still 50 pounds overweight. And it can't ask them like, hey, you want to go work out with us? Like, I got a bunch of guys that work out in the morning. You want to come with me? Like, yeah, I won't do that. But I think the profession still to this day, we've been so intent on finding value in just one example of diabetic eye care of identifying retinopathy as opposed to the totality of the patient that has diabetes and the increased risk of all the things that they have, binocular vision problems and, it's like, we got to get back to just take care of the patient. AI will serve that patient and will serve our needs to get information more rapidly. So I think you're right. I think AI is not really a threat until it can do, in theory, could AI actually do all the analysis of the cornea and all the risk factors of all these other things and the retina and the iris and all the way out to the aura and communicate it perfectly because it's exactly what the patient wants to hear? Maybe. But I think there's a lot of people most people would still want a human on the other side of it to be responsible.
Yeah. I think at least for now.
Yeah, I do think for now. I don't know what's going to happen in the future,
Right.
but like, think about how uninterested you are. This is really, I'll prove this point. Have you ever heard any AI music? Like any music from AI?
I don't think so.
You listen to it and it's phenomenal. You'll be like, this is unbelievable. And yet it's funny. Like you can do like my daughter did one about like my two youngest kids, they're 4 and 7, and they love frogs. And all summer long, all they do is to catch these toads. And so she like put in, a couple prompts on create a song about Bodie and Mason and their love for toads, but the toads are afraid of them. And that's it. And it creates this song. It's like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, right? So catchy. It's funny. It's, and then I listened to it one time and I'm like, okay, I'm moving on. Like it wasn't interesting. But if I hear a song from, just pick a class, like you can go back and listen to a song from 70 years ago that you've heard 100 times and you want to listen to it again. And maybe it's because a human is behind it, or I don't know. I don't know. I still think that as good as it is, like there's something else. There's something else.
Yeah. No, I agree.
I don't know.
No, I think, I think the interesting thing will be is, again, the generational differences. Our generation appreciates
Yeah,
the human
yeah.
touch, the human factor. Will your, now 4-year-old in 20 years, will that matter at all? I don't know. It's completely
I
possible
know
that
it's
it
weird.
doesn't. It's To us, it's completely weird, but that's what makes us old, right? That these
But
things.
that's also, oh, you've opened a whole other can of worms because that's like my worst nightmare, actually. Like when so I did for the last, well, I stopped. So our tour ended. So we called it the Gateway Tour, and it was all on AI. And so I did about 10 months of like, we did like 16 events over 10 months. And I worked a ton with Masood Nafi. Have you ever met? You probably met
I've
Masood.
not. Uh,
Oh, dude, you should meet Masood. He's awesome. He's a good human being. He's an OD, but he's really into AI and technology. And I'll introduce you to. You'd love
okay.
him. Um, but anyway, so what I said. So we would joke. Actually, we got into this point where Masood always said, like, he always, he would use the joke like, I use please and thank you, and I always would say, like, I don't. I treat my AI like they're a slave. I don't know if that's the best use of terms, but because not because I'm worried about AI, but because I'm worried about myself, thinking that, like, knowing that this
Oh.
is not a human and talking to it like it's a human, I'm protecting myself. And he would always joke that, he's going to be the last one standing when all of us are annihilated because he said please and thank you. And, but anyway, the point is like, I think you're right. Like that worries me. Of the two worst outcomes, you talk to, you listen to some AI experts and they'll say, like, there's a 40% chance that like a legitimate 40% chance that we're hooked up in the matrix being used for power by AI. Like they will take over the world and like 40%, like, really, I don't know. That's a terrible outcome. 40% seems high, but I don't know, maybe. But my worst fear is, probably not me, probably not my kids, but my kids, my grandkids, or their kids are going to know that their best friend, their partner in life, the love of their life, is not a human, and they will not care. That as far as an outcome of AI, that really,
Well, I mean,
like, that's the worst.
the natural evolution of that, you and I already see that with our kids, because when you would play with a friend, that meant you went outside, you rode your bike down the block, you went to a friend's house, and you were actually face to face playing with a friend. And I'd be willing to bet that some of your kids, when they play with their friends, it's either on a video game or it's on a
Yeah, you're
phone
right.
or some other digital means. So
Yeah,
in that
they'll
case,
actually come over to our house and go into separate rooms to play video games, so they
yeah,
don't have to talk over each other. They just hear each other yeah.
yeah.
They're like, come on, guys, you got to get together.
Right, right. So it's almost like that's the first step into your worst case scenario. We're already on that path, and we see that, and it's it's kind of funny because if I say to my 16-year-old, well, don't you want to go see, or don't you want? And they're like, well, I'm hanging out with so and so right now, and I'm like,
Yeah, yeah.
what are you talking about? He's like, well,
Where are they? Yeah,
I got my phone, got a computer, we're hanging out. So
yeah,
yeah, it's
yeah.
interesting. It's interesting.
Well, listen, I want to be respectful of your time. I know we got started a little bit later. Tell
Well, that's
people
okay.
it's like, so you're traveling a bit. What are you excited about coming up? Like, where are you going to go? What's kind of filling your bucket from a practice standpoint, where you can say, like, hey, this is going to help me learn more or teach more, or what do you got coming up? So
Yeah.
we missed each
So
other in Cody. So the reason I asked that
yeah,
question to the audience
yeah.
is we were both in Cody, Wyoming, and we're basically just, passing
Just
by. So
passing.
that's, yeah.
So by the way, in Cody, Wyoming, I bought myself a pair of cowboy boots. So I'd been in Cody about
Yeah.
5 years ago. And on that trip, I was there with Greg Caldwell, who I hadn't met or hadn't known before then.
Oh,
So we just
really?
met each other. Yeah. I mean,
Huh.
very much in passing, but not like really.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when we were there like 5 years ago, I think I had rented a car because I flew into Billings, Montana, and had to drive. Anyway, so we spent an afternoon just driving around Montana together and taking it in. And it was because, as you got to see, it's beautiful. It's
Yeah. It's
amazing there.
beautiful.
And then he and I went to a cowboy boot shop, and we went in and we were going to both buy cowboy boots. It was like quite a first date, I guess, for us. Um, and he bought the cowboy boots and I didn't. And
What
we went
made
to
you not buy him at the time? Why didn't you buy him 5 years ago?
Yeah. So actually, I was in
$500. You want to keep $500 in your pocket?
They weren't that much.
Okay.
But I was trying them on and I didn't think they were that comfortable. And everyone says they're not at first. And so I called my wife from the store. I'm like, I'm here with this new friend of mine, Greg. He's going to buy these cowboy boots. I think I kind of want to get them. What do you think? And Karen said, don't do it. I said, why? She said, because you'll hate them. You're going to hate it. You're not going to you're going to come home and ask yourself why you did it. Just don't do it. So I didn't. And so the reason I bring this up is because every 6 months or so, I'd get a picture of Greg doing a lecture somewhere with him wearing his cowboy boots. And it'd be like, I've got some you don't, or something like that was his message. So when you bring up Cody, I this time I bought
awesome.
cowboy boots. And so now first thing I did was I bought them on Thursday night or Friday night when I lectured on Saturday. I took a picture and sent it to Greg to tell him now I've got cowboy boots too.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But so when you say, what's exciting looking forward, so Kansas just passed a scope expansion. And so just before getting on this with you, I was looking on the website for signing up for the certification course. And so to me, that's exciting. Something that, unlike you in school, I didn't have any training on YAGs or SLTs. And so getting to start to do that to me is exciting. And, so it's something new to get to look forward to in practice. And I'm lucky that the practice I'm in, we already have the laser, so I don't need to, buy anything special. We have the patients. And the way I see it is that a busy ophthalmologist should want the optometrist in the practice doing the YAGs or the SLTs.
Amen.
So that they can be doing the surgery and the things that they're trained to do that we can't. So I think that to me is something exciting. You mentioned travel. And like you, I get to go to a lot of places, although what I tell people is I go everywhere and I see nowhere, because usually it's kind of in and out unless you make it a point to spend a little extra time somewhere. But next year and end of January, I get to go and lecture in Norway. And so I've gone there a couple times in the past. So this will be my third time there, and just super friendly group, beautiful place. And I just feel just so lucky and blessed to be able to go around the world because of our profession. And that is something that if you would have asked me in optometry school, where will optometry take you? I would have said, it's going to take me to an office, maybe with 2 or 3 exam lanes. I'm going to be saying which is better, 1 or 2. And if that's what makes you happy, then fantastic. But I've just been lucky enough that optometry has taken me literally like all around the world, and getting to do so many different things. And, I guess, the other thing, what are you excited about? The answer I would give you is, I don't know yet, because I'm sure there'll be something in a year or 2 that I'm doing that I'm not just not doing now. It's something that I probably haven't even thought about doing. So to me, that's exciting, knowing that there's, as an optometrist, not just for Chris Wolfe or Jeff Gerson, but as an optometrist, there's so many opportunities, and it's just find the one that, what floats your boat, what excites you, and then go for it. So to me, that's kind of exciting.
Yeah. Jeff Gerson, thanks so much for coming on, man. I appreciate it. If somebody wants to get a hold of you to come speak at their whatever, what's the best place? LinkedIn? Email?
Yeah, LinkedIn, email, or honestly, just text is probably the easiest. So, when you put this up, you can put my phone number on it and people can text me. That's
okay.
I mean, no one's going to take advantage of that. I'm not. Look, anyone can figure out anyone's email or phone number if they want. So either one of those two is totally fine.
Well, thanks for doing this, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Chris. My pleasure.